Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jasodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana. Jasodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana. Jasodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana. Jasodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jayo Radha Madhava Good morning. I say good morning to everybody else. Nice to see you.
We're not looking today, so.
Oh, okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya.
Narayanam Namaskritya.
Naram Shaiva Narottamam.
Narottamam.
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam.
Devim Saraswati Vyasam.
Tato Jayamudirayat.
Tato Jayamudirayat.
Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam,
Before reciting Srimad Bhagavatam,
which is the very means of conquest,
which is the very means of conquest,
one should offer respectful obeisances
one
One
should
should offer respectful obeisances
unto the personality of Godhead,
unto
to the
the
personality of
Godhead,
Godhead,
Lord
Narayan,
Narayan,
unto Narayana Rishi,
unto Narayan Rishi,
the supermost human beings,
the supermost human being,
unto Mother Saraswati,
unto Mother Saraswati,
the goddess of learning,
the goddess of learning,
and unto Srila Vyasadeva the author.
unto Srila Vyasadeva the author.
Shinvatam Svakata Krishna,
Vengata Sakata Krishna,
Punya Shravana Kirtanaha,
Punya Saravana Kirtanaha,
Hidrantasto Hridya Bradrani,
Vidyantasto Vadrani,
Vidu Noti Saritsatam,
Vidunokti Saritsatam.
Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead,
Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead,
who is the Paramatma,
who is the Paramatma,
super soul in everyone's heart,
super soul in everyone's heart,
and the benefactor of the truthful devotee,
and the benefactor of the truthful devotee,
cleanses desire for material enjoyment
cleanses desire for material enjoyment
from the heart of the devotee,
in the heart of a devotee,
who has developed the urge to hear his messages,
who has developed the urge to hear his messages,
which are in themselves
which are in themselves
virtuous when properly heard and chanted.
virtuous when properly heard and chanted.
Nastapreshu Bhadreshu
Nastapraeshu abhadreshu
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Bhagavat Uttama Shloke
Bhagavatam Shloke
Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki
Bhaktir Bhagavati Naishtaki.
By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam,
By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam,
and by the rendering of service to the pure devotee,
and by rendering service to the pure devotee,
all that is troublesome to the heart
all that is troublesome to the heart
is almost completely destroyed.
is almost completely destroyed.
And loving service unto the personality of Godhead,
And loving service unto the personality of Godhead,
who is praised with transcendental song,
who is praised with transcendental song,
is established as an irrevocable fact.
is established as an irrevocable fact.
We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd canto, 3rd chapter, text 24. Please repeat. Tadasma saram hridyayam patedam
Kadashram saram hridayam bhatedam
Tadasma saram hridayam patedam
Tadashma saram hridayam bhatedam
Tad asma saram hridayam bhatedam
Tat ashma saram hridayam bhatedam
Yadriyam manar hari nama deyaha
Yadgramya gnair hari nama deha
Yadriyam manar hari nama deyai
Yadgriyama gnair hari nama deya
Yadriyam manar hari nama deyai
Yadgriyamana hari nama deya
Navikriye tata yada vikaro
Yadvikraye tata yadvikaro
Navikriye tata yada vikaro Navikriye tata yada vikaro
Navikriye tata yadvikaro
Nitra jalam gatra ruheshu harshaha
Nitra jalam gatra raheshu hasha
Netre jalam gatra ruheshu harshaha
Nitra jalam gatra raheshu hasha
Netre jalam gatra ruheshu harshaha
Nitre jalam gatra viheshu hasha Tad ashma saram hridayam bhatedam Yadgriyamanai harinama deyahai Navikriyetata yada vikaro Netra jalam gatra viheshu harsha Tadashma saram hridayam bhatedam Harinam Navikriye tataya davikararo Netra jalam gatra ruheshu dharshan
Tadasma saram hridayam bhatedam
Tadasma saram hridayam bhatedam
Yadgrimanai harinama deyaha
Yadgraimanai harinama deyai
Navikyata yadavikaro
Navi
vikraye tata yada vikaro. Netra jalam gatra jahe suharsa. Tadasma saram niraya batedam. Yadriyamanai harinamadeyai. Navikraye datta yada vikaro. Nitra jalam gatra riheshu harsha. Gadashma salam hridayam patedam. Yadriyamanai harinamadeyai. Navikrayat tataha yad vedakaro. Nitra jalam gatra rahishu harsaha. Tadasma saram hridayam batedam. Yadriyamanai harinamadeyai. Navikrayat tata yada vikaro. Nitra jalam gatra riheshu harsha. Tadasma saram hridayam batedam. Naviriyamanai harinamadeyai. Navikrayat tata yada vikaro. Netra jalam gatra ruhesha harsha.
Anybody else? Please repeat. Ta, that.
At the same
Asma saram
Usually when you
is steel frame. Hridayam,
Yeah.
heart. Bhakta idam, certainly that. Yat, which. Griyamanai,
Riyamanai.
in spite of chanting.
Right.
Harinam,
Harinam.
the holy name of the Lord.
The holy name of the Lord.
Deyahai,
Ayai.
by the concentration of the mind.
By the concentration of the mind.
Nam, does not.
Does not.
Vikrayeta,
Vikrayeta.
change.
Change.
Ata,
Ata.
thus.
Thus.
Yada,
Yada.
when.
When.
Vikaraha,
Vikaraha.
reaction.
Reaction.
Natre,
Adre.
nitre,
Nitre.
in the eyes.
Yes.
Jalam,
Dalang.
tears.
Tears.
Gatra, ruheshu,
Gatra Yeshu.
at the pores.
At the pores.
Harshaha,
Ashaha.
eruptions of ecstasy.
Eruptions of ecstasy.
Please repeat translation. Certainly,
Certainly,
that heart is steel framed,
that heart is steel framed,
which, in spite of one's chanting the holy name of the Lord,
in spite of one's chanting the holy name of the Lord,
with concentration,
does not change
when ecstasy takes place.
when ecstasy takes place.
Tears fill the eyes,
Tears fill the eyes,
and the hairs stand on end.
and the hairs stand on end.
I'll read that again. Certainly that heart is steel framed, which, in spite of one's chanting the holy name of the Lord with concentration, does not change when ecstasy takes place. Tears fill the eyes, and hairs stand on end. Purport by His Divine Grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai Srila Prabhupada.
We should note of profit that in the first 3 chapters of the second canto, a gradual process of development of devotional service is being presented. In the first chapter of the first step in devotional service for God consciousness by process of hearing and chanting has been stressed, and a gross conception of the personality of Godhead in His universal form for the beginners is recommended. By such a gross conception of God through the material manifestations of His energy, one is enabled to spiritualize the mind and the senses and gradually concentrate the mind upon Lord Vishnu, the Supreme, who is present as the Supersoul in every heart and everywhere, in every atom of the material universe. The system of Pancha Upasana, recommending 5 mental attitudes for the common man, is also enacted for this purpose, namely gradual development, worship of the superior that may be in the form of fire, electricity, the sun, the mass of living beings, Lord Shiva, and at last, the impersonal Supersoul, the partial representation of Lord Vishnu. They are all nicely described in the second chapter, but in the third chapter, further development is prescribed after one has actually reached the stage of Vishnu worship or pure devotional service. And the mature stage of Vishnu worship is suggested herein in relation to the change of heart. The whole process of spiritual culture is aimed at changing the heart of the living being in the matter of his eternal relation with the Supreme Lord as subordinate servant, which is his eternal constitutional position. So with the progress of devotional service, the reaction of change in the heart is exhibited by gradual detachment from the sense of material enjoyment by a false sense of lording it over the world, and an increase in the attitude of rendering loving service to the Lord. Vidhi Bhakti, or regulated devotional service by the limbs of the body, namely the eyes, the ears, the nose, the hands, and the legs, as already explained herein before, is now stressed herein in relation to the mind, which is the impetus for all activities of the limbs of the body. It is expected by all means that by discharging regulated devotional service, one must manifest the change of heart. If there is no such change, the heart must be considered steel framed, for it is not melted even when there is chanting of the holy name of the Lord. We must always remember that hearing and chanting are the basic principles of discharging devotional duties, and if they are properly performed, there will follow the reactional ecstasy with signs of tears in the eyes and standing of the hairs on the body. These are natural consequences and are the preliminary symptoms of the bhava stage, which occurs before one reaches the perfectional stage of prema, love of Godhead. If the reaction does not take place, even after continuous hearing and chanting of the holy name of the Lord, it may be considered to be due to offenses only. That is the opinion of the Sandarbha. In the beginning of chanting of the holy name of the Lord, if the devotee has not been very careful about evading the 10 kinds of offenses at the feet of the holy name, certainly the reactions of feelings of separation will not be visible by tears in the eyes and standing of the hair on end. Well, these things are like, these special little paragraphs or sentences are just like, keys. Like, whoa. I recognize that as a little secret there to help me, And I like to mark them. I mark them in my Bhagavatam. That's not permanent, but just little, little flags. The bhava state is manifested by 8 transcendental symptoms, namely inertness, perspiration, standing of hairs on end, failing in the voice, trembling, paleness of the body, tears in the eyes, and finally, trance. The Nectar Devotion, a summary study of Srila Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, explains those symptoms and vividly describes other transcendental developments, both in steady and accelerating manifestations. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has very critically discussed all these bhava displays in connection with some unscrupulous neophytes and imitating the above symptoms for cheap appreciation. Not only Vishwanath Chakravarti, but also Srila Rupa Goswami treated them very critically. Sometimes all the above 8 symptoms of ecstasy are imitated by the mundane devotees, Prakrita Sahajas. But these pseudo-symptoms are at once detected when one sees the pseudo-devotee addicted to so many forbidden things. Even though decorated with signs of a devotee, a person addicted to smoking, drinking, or illicit sex with women cannot have all the above-mentioned ecstatic symptoms. But it is seen that, in other words, you can't have your cake and eat it too. But it is seen that sometimes these symptoms are willfully imitated. But for this reason, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti accuses the imitators of being stone-hearted men. I'll read that again. But it is seen that sometimes these symptoms are willfully imitated. And for this reason, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti accuses the imitators of being stone-hearted men. They are sometimes even affected by the reflection of such transcendental symptoms. Yet if they still do not give up the forbidden habits, then they are hopeless cases for transcendental realization. When Lord Chaitanya, that kind of reminds me what somebody just said a while ago, Prabhupada said, "What can I do?" Somebody said that.
Jayapatni.
Yeah. The Jewish people leave out the middle letter.
I think also the Muslims do that.
Oh, really? And Prabhupada said, "What can I do?"
What can we do?
Yeah. Sometimes, Prabhupada says it takes an advanced devotee to preach to an atheist. So sometimes we just have to, if we see that they're committing offenses, we're right here, and the things they're saying are offensive to Krishna, then we have to help them to not commit the offenses by either leaving or changing the subject, or if they're committing offenses, then I'm responsible. I'm an enabler, enabling them to commit offenses. So.
Can we cut their tongue out?
Because we know better. Or run away, right?
Can we cut their tongue out?
Is
No,
that
they have to chant. You should come to camping.
Yeah, that's very sweet. Yeah, slip the medicine in there somehow or other.
I was at reading Bhagavatam with my friend in Jersey, and Prabhupada says, and if somebody says something against the Lord, you should cut his tongue out.
Wow, that's heavy.
He carries a knife around, he's not kidding.
What is it?
I said, he carries a knife around. That'd be
I don't know
fair.
what to say. What can you tell?
Well, if you change the subject, because devotees really have mystic talents they're not even aware of, but if you've been preaching for so many years, you can guide the conversation very easily, just like yesterday, I'm not advanced, but if I were, this is how it might go down. But I was in Academy yesterday, and I was talking to the gentleman. We were walking by, and there's nothing going on in the store. So I just started talking to him, and I got him talking about how good he is with his rifles, because this is the rifle case, you know what I'm saying? Or whatever, I said, wow, there's a lot of weapons here, because I don't know anything about this stuff. But, and then so he started talking about how good he is with the rifle, and marksman, and then martial arts, we started talking about that. I took him there, and then gradually something else. And so he was talking all about himself, and then I just slipped him over a yoga book, Perfection Yoga. And it's like in the conversation, he just took it, and then gave him the card. Yeah, just come on up there sometime. And just slipped it in there, talked about martial arts and yoga, and I just slipped it in there. You know what I mean? And he's a person that would probably prefer to talk about himself than to talk about God, perhaps. Possibly. Even guide the conversation, and anyway.
But there was, I remember
when we were doing a lot of research for the Ingawa Trust Party, there were laws still on the books in different states that if you blaspheme the Bible or the Lord, in that case Jesus Christ, you could actually be sentenced to death. And I don't, in Iowa, it was still on the books.
Wow.
At that point, that was back in the 70s. There was different things like that. There's a lot of laws that are out there that, that they're very arcane, but now they just forget, they don't bother with them. But they're still there. They're on the books.
Yeah. Yeah. Jesus Christ is Lord over Peking. I mean, that is an official sign.
That's right.
Like one of those interstate signs.
It's like a state, it's like an interstate sign.
Yeah.
But that concept is there, even in that tradition, that you don't say something that's
That is amazing. Yeah. When Lord Chaitanya met Srila Ramananda Roy of Kavar on the bank of the Godavari, and the Lord developed all these symptoms, but because of the presence of some non-devotee brahmanas who were attendants of the Roy, the Lord suppressed these symptoms. So sometimes they are not visible even in the body of the first-class devotee for certain circumstantial reasons. Therefore, real steady bhava is definitely displayed in the matter of cessation of material desires, kshanti, utilization of every moment in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, avyarta kalatam, eagerness for glorifying the Lord constantly, nama gane sadaruchi, attraction for living in the land of the Lord, pratistad vasate stale, complete detachment from material happiness, virakti, and pridelessness, mana shuyata. One who has developed all these transcendental qualities is really possessed of the bhava stage, as distinguished from the stone-hearted imitator or mundane devotee. The whole process can be summarized as follows. The advanced devotee who chants the holy name of the Lord in a perfectly offenseless manner and is friendly to every... This one paragraph, it's the very last one, is so potent. The whole process can be summarized as follows. The advanced devotee who chants the holy name of the Lord in a perfectly offenseless manner and is friendly to everyone can actually relish the transcendental taste of glorifying the Lord. So if we're kind to one another, as all living entities, then it's probably the same right here, that if the advanced devotee who chants the holy name of the Lord in a perfectly offenseless manner and is friendly to everyone can actually relish the transcendental taste of glorifying the Lord. Because we need all these little hints we can get, I know I need all the blessings I can possibly get. And the result of such realization is reflected in the cessation of all material desires, etc., as mentioned above. The neophytes, due to their being in the lower stage of devotional service, are invariably envious, so much so that they invent their own ways and means of devotional regulations without following the acharyas. And then I say, well, not that I'm qualified to comment, but, it is Kali Yuga. We are in the age of the cheaters and the cheated. They're very, very good at cheating. And you're admired if you can cheat, become a very excellent cheater. As such, even if they make a show of constantly chanting the holy name of the Lord, they cannot relish the transcendental taste of the holy name. Therefore, the show of tears in the eyes, trembling, perspiration, or unconsciousness, etc., is condemned. They can, however, get in touch with a pure devotee of the Lord and rectify their bad habits. Otherwise, they shall continue to be stone-hearted and unfit for any treatment. A complete progressive march on the return path home back to Godhead will depend on the instructions of the real scriptures directed by a realized devotee. It's so simple. It's nothing complicated about that. I mean, just that last sentence even. If you just took that last sentence, a complete progressive march on the return path home back to Godhead will depend on the instructions of the revealed scriptures directed by a realized devotee. Which means that you've taken shelter of a pure devotee. You know, we have to get the mercy. Without the mercy of the pure devotee, no, we can't get the blessings of Krishna. So, did anybody have any comments so far? Or questions? It was a 4-page report. So we know all about being, Prabhupada said that you are like coal, your hearts are like coal, but I'll take that in my hand with pressure. I will create diamonds. You know? That's the mercy of a pure devotee. We don't deserve it. We never did anything to really deserve it. All we have is desire. That's all we really have. And that desire, if we desire to surrender, then we can take part in this devotional process, Tavani Panipate Parapurshman Seva Upadeshanti Tegadam Gyani Nistapanashna. Just try to learn the truth. No one else have questions or comments?
Well, Jesus is Lord of the kingdom, but Lord Jagannath is Lord of the universe.
Yeah.
I'd love to be able to put that up.
And Krishna is his father. But I don't
Krishna
know.
Yeah. Well, I tell people, we worship and we love Jesus. We absolutely do. Then that takes down the, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That just melts the ice right there. It's like, oh, you do. Oh, okay. Okay, so you're not my enemy after all.
The competition.
Yeah. Oh, so you're on my team after all? Really, you're on my team? Wow, how could you be on my team?
They compete with each other. I mean,
Yeah.
really, and really,
Interpretation.
inane ways. Like, so, it's mind-boggling that how they think that only in this building can you actually get the mercy of Jesus Christ. If you go across the street in that building.
Or the spring.
Wow, that's so beautiful. You just said though, Prabhu.
It's true.
In every building, Jesus Christ's blessings are available.
I actually asked for them with the Church of Christ, and one of the women, their grandfather, was the blacksmith up there in Lois, where there used to be Clark's, and he was a Baptist in the Church of Christ, and every night he'd come home and read the Bible, and then, so I said, so you mean that your grandfather, because he was baptized in that building across the street, he's not going to be with Jesus? He doesn't get Jesus, all the mercy, all the compassion and love of Jesus Christ, who showed it by getting on the cross, being nailed to a cross, that he'll deny that mercy to your grandfather because he was baptized in that building instead of this building? And they went, yeah.
Yeah, I know, because, my wife's parents are holiness, so, there's only so many 100,000 or whatever that says in the Bible that are going back, and they're obviously holiness, Nobody else is going back to heaven.
144,000.
144,000?
And then everybody else burns forever?
Yeah.
Everybody else burns forever?
You have to accept it. There's
It's a rough.
it's limited to 140. The Prabhu says, if you love God, that means you love all of his children. There's really no need for religious wars. We have a simple message, Yes, Manji?
It's so nice that there's different stages and you can gain something in each stage. And then instead of fighting over, my stage is right, your stage is wrong, there's so many stages and it's growing.
Yeah, this is science. Prabhupada says this is technology also, but is transcendental technical. Transcendental technical.
That's nice.
Yeah, beautiful.
T2.
Right.
Transcendental.
Just
tech.
talking about Prabhupada immediately makes us Krishna conscious. It's like we're caught up in the wave, you know, like a boat goes plows or a ship. You know, we're just caught up in that wave, you know, we're just surfing, attempting to surf on those waves, you know. Srila Prabhupada. This is chapter 34, Nectar of Devotion, and it's entitled The Nectar of Devotion. The particular type of ecstatic, loving sentiment that develops within the heart of a particular devotee is considered to be Vibhava, or Vaibhava. Who says Vaibhava? Who says? How do you pronounce it?
Vaibhava.
Just
There's
Vaibhava.
2 words. Which one is this with an A or not?
Vibhava. Say Vibhava. Vaibhava.
Vaibhava also.
And the resultant manifestations, such as moving of the eyebrows, fear, astonishment, and smiling, which have been explained here before, are called Anubhava. The different causes for developing Anubhava and Vaibhava are called steady ecstasy or Sanchari Bhava. Whenever there is a recitation of poetry or a dramatic play on the different pastimes of Krishna, the audience develops different kinds of transcendental loving service for the Lord. They enjoy different types of Vaibhava, Anubhava, and Sanchari Bhava. No one, while remaining on the material platform, should discuss these different descriptions of Bhava and Anubhava by quoting different statements of transcendental literatures. Such manifestations are displays of the transcendental pleasure potency of the Lord. One should simply try to understand that on the spiritual platform there are many varieties of reciprocal love. Such loving exchanges should never be considered to be material. In the Mahabharata, Bhishma Parva, it is warned that things which are inconceivable should not be subjected to arguments. Wow. Actually, the transactions of the spiritual world are inconceivable to us in our present state of life. Great liberated souls like Rupa Goswami and others have tried to give us some hints of transcendental activities in the spiritual world, but on the whole, these transactions will remain inconceivable to us at the present moment. Understanding the exchanges of transcendental loving service with Krishna is possible only when one is actually in touch with the pleasure potency of the Supreme Lord. In this connection, Sri Rupa Goswami gives an example of the clouds in the sky. The clouds in the sky arise from the ocean, and when the clouds become water again and fall to the ground, they glide back to the ocean. Thus the pleasure potency of Krishna is compared to the ocean. The pure devotee is the pleasure-possessing cloud. And when he is filled with transcendental loving service, then he can bestow his mercy as a downpour of rain, and the pleasure potency returns to the ocean of Krishna. And then the next part is called direct and indirect attraction for Krishna. Any comments so far? Transcendental pleasure derived from devotional service can be divided into 2 groups: direct devotional service and indirect devotional service. Direct devotional service is divided into 5 transcendental humors or flavors, and indirect devotional service is divided into 7 transcendental humors. Direct devotional service are as follows: neutrality, servitude, fraternity, parenthood, and conjugal love. Indirect devotional service is divided into laughter, compassion, anger, chivalry, dread, astonishment, and ghastliness. Devotional service can therefore be divided into 12 types, each of which has a different color. The colors are white, multicolored, orange, red, light green, gray, yellow, off-whitish, smoky, pink, black, and cloudy. The 12 different kinds of transcendental humors are controlled by different incarnations of God, such as Kapila, Madhava, Upendra, Nrsimha, Nandana, Balaram, Kumar, Kalki, Raghava, Bhargava, Varaha, and Matsya. So we have the science. I mean, just see how succinct everything is. It's so complete. Sustenance, maintenance, expansion, reflection, and lamentation are the 5 visible symptoms and exchanges of ecstatic love. The test of devotional service can therefore be made in terms of these 5 symptoms. In the devotional service of neutrality, there is sustenance. In chivalrous devotional service, there is expansion. In compassionate devotional service, there is reflection. In angry devotional service, there is lamentation, and so on. An apparently pitiable condition in devotional service may appear distressing to the inexperienced student, but the feelings of the devotee in this pitiable condition are considered to be ecstatic by expert devotees. For example, the subject matter of the Ramayana is sometimes considered pitiable and distressing to the heart, but actually that is not the fact. Ramayana narrates how Lord Ram was sent to the forest by his father just when he was going to be enthroned. After Lord Ram's departure, Maharaj Dasarath, his father, died. In the forest, his wife, Sita Devi, was kidnapped by Ravana, and there was a great war. When Sita Devi was finally delivered from the clutches of Ravana, Ravana's whole family and kingdom, and Ravana himself were vanquished. When Sita Devi came home, she was tried by fire, and after days she was again banished to the forest. After some days, she was again banished to the forest. All of these subjects in the Ramayana seem very pitiable, and they may appear very distressing to the reciter, but actually they are not. Otherwise, why would Hanuman, the great devotee of Lord Ramachandra, read daily about the activities of Lord Ramachandra, as described in the Ramayana itself? The fact is that in any of the above-mentioned 12 transcendental humors of devotional service, everything is transcendentally pleasing. Srila Rupa Goswami mourns in this connection for persons who are in the fire of false renunciation. Srila Rupa Goswami mourns in this connection for persons who are in the fire of false renunciation, the dry speculative habit, and who neglect devotional service. Persons who are attached to the ritualistic ceremonies recommended in the Vedas and to the impersonal Brahman cannot relish the transcendental pleasure of devotional service. Sri Rupa Goswami advises, therefore, that devotees who have already tasted the nectar of devotion be very careful to protect devotional service from such dry speculators, formal, ritualistic elevationists, and impersonal salvationists. One thing they all have in common, to me it seems what they all have in common is if you were to listen to any of them and you don't try to stop listening to them, they want to speak. They want to get all their points across. They want you to register everything they're saying, comprehend everything they're saying, and they want to continue to speak, no matter what you're saying, So, anyway. Devotees should protect their valuable jewel of spiritual love from the clutches of thieves and burglars. In other words, a pure devotee should not describe devotional service and its different analytical aspects to dry speculators and false renouncers. Those who are not devotees can never achieve the benefits of devotional service. Those who are not devotees can never achieve the benefits of devotional service. For them, the subject of devotional service is always very difficult to understand. Only persons who have dedicated their lives unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead can relish the real nectar of devotion. When one transcends the status of ecstatic love and thus becomes situated on the highest platform of pure goodness, one is understood to have cleansed the heart of all material contamination. In that pure stage of life, one can taste this nectar, and this tasting capacity is technically called rasa, or transcendental mood. Thus ends the Bhaktivinoda summary study of the second division of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu in the matter of general devotional service. Any questions, comments?
Thank you for reading it.
Saying before,
Yeah, that's good.
What chapter is that?
Oh,
34.
that right there, it's actually
Number 34.
just 2 pages, chapter 34.
Mm.
And it's entitled The Nectar Devotion, and it's in the Nectar Devotion.
Mm-hmm.
That's very potent, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Sweet.
It's only 2 pages?
2 pages, yeah.
Yeah.
The Nectar Devotion. And there's 2 parts to it. The second part is called Direct and Indirect Attraction for Krishna.
Bishop.
Yeah, Bhishma, I'm sorry.
You were saying before that we did nothing to be devotees and stuff. And I understand that should be our mentality. But it also says that, after many births and deaths, people once begin the path of devotional service do not end. So I guess that's like others that, are deserted because they've been, but for ourselves we should think that, we've done nothing to deserve this.
Can you imagine that we could be stubborn for many lifetimes? Very stubborn.
Yeah.
I was contemplating the other day that if I could really know what I did wrong to come down here and spend millions of years to learn my lesson, I just hope I can remember, you know what I mean, in the future, that somehow know what I did wrong so I don't do it again.
Well, sometimes I think about that sometimes. It's like
Think
you
about that
said.
often. What did we do?
Mm-hmm.
What did we
Yeah.
do?
But I'm always concerned that then everybody knows everybody.
So they know too?
Yeah, they know too, and maybe I'll be embarrassed.
Yeah, there are no secrets. So, what was that the other day? Somebody said that there's a Greek philosopher said that he was embarrassed to have a material body. I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah.
I don't know which philosopher it was though.
Something like
This-
or something. But he was. I talked to Art about it, and he said that he was an impersonalist. So they weren't personalists, but
Yeah.
they did feel that they weren't the body. They knew they weren't the body, but we were all energy.
Well, there's one more thing I wanted to mention to share with y'all. And you can share anything you have, experiences you have, because we're a family here. So we like to, share. Like when we used to go on Sankirtan or preaching, which we all have our ways of preaching. And if we come across, to me it was like a miracle that happened the other day. To me, I mean, I'm there at my doctor's office, and I just want to share this with y'all. But I've shared a little bit with him, tidbits, just little things along the way. He's a young African American, very distinguished. He seems like a devotee already. He already has the shaved head, and he's very distinguished, like so many of the people are in the movement, So we did what we talked about and everything. He asked how am I doing and did everything after the 3-month visit. And then he sat back in his chair and did like this, right? Got relaxed, comfortable. And he said, all right, lay some wisdom on me.
Oh my gosh.
I was like,
Because you always
I was
have
blown
to.
away. I was just blown away. I mean, his time is critical. He's got patients waiting, what I mean. So I got 15 minutes. And I just started with the basic, I just said, as embodied spirit soul continually passes in this life from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at the time of death. But this self-realized soul is not bewildered by such a change. Because he deals with everyone's body, So I started just the basic. And I said, just like that door right here, if I had never been on the other side of that door, I wouldn't know what's on the other side of that door. But if somebody's already been over there, like for instance, a pure devotee of God can come and help me understand how to prepare to go through that door and what's on the other side, then that would help me understand. And death is like that. It's a natural transition. Once you go through the door, you're in a completely different environment, whether it's material birth or a spiritual birth, But basic things like that, and I try to start basic, not get carried away too much, and explain about the Vedas and Sanskrit language, and you deal with Latin, doctors deal with Latin, But just basic stuff like that. Made a connection, I think.
Wow.
But he's amazing. He's very intelligent. But then yesterday I got to preach to 5 people. I went back to my old job. To me, it was another miracle on Balaram's appearance day. The gentleman who took my place, young guy, very intelligent, and he was born in New Orleans and raised in Colorado. Now he's back here. And you know, he's talking like all the young people do now, because they read everything on the internet, so they've got a lot of stuff to get out. First he was doing like that, but then he quieted it down. It's like Sue was telling me, go ahead, slow down, listen. And that's what happened. He started listening, and it was amazing. And he wants to check out a lot more about it, Beginning Perfection Yoga, all the information, websites, and all that. So that to me is a miracle. When someone actually shuts up and listens, to me it's like a miracle nowadays. It's like a miracle. They already know it all, you know. They got the whole internet. Oh, I already know it all. Yeah, you know. And they'll tell you, yeah, I'm Buddhist, and they don't know what they read a few things. You find out, you dig in, and they don't know anything about Buddhism, basically. Or whatever, you know. And they know so much about this, so much about that, just because they read a little bit about it on the internet, you know.
I was wondering, when you talk about your laughter, I guess you already did. I know you make these nice cookies.
Yeah, we got to bring a prasadam. We certainly have to do that, because I used to go to chiropractor and pick humans the same way, and we'd always bring a plate of lunch prasadam, you know. And he loved that. They almost fought over it and bring it in there, you know. But yeah, you're right. You're right, Manaji. You're always thinking those great thoughts, you know. Great ideas. Anybody else have anything you want to share? I think it was the cow. Auspicious.
Thomas Sundberg was worked before the Beatles by George Harrison. No. Yeah, by George Harrison, and John Lennon says, "All right, let's hear all about it. Let's hear the truth," or something like that, you know.
Kind of the same thing. Lay it on me.
Yeah, right.
Oh, but what I didn't tell you, I totally forgot this. This is going to sound weird, but he was sitting there. I saw a silhouette because he was sitting in front of the computer for so long, and I'm looking at him. And then I looked away, and there's a light wall and there's a dark wall. I know it sounds weird, okay, but this actually happened to me, because everywhere I go, I'm looking for Prabhupada's picture. And I saw his silhouette. Oh my God, exactly the same as Srila Prabhupada. And I saw in the dark one, it was even more vivid. And I think I started out by saying, you're not going to believe this, but your silhouette is exactly the same as my guru's. You know, and that was just incredible. I never see that anywhere. I don't see Prabhupada in the clouds. I look everywhere for his picture, but I don't ever see it. I look on the cows, the patterns on the, the patterns they have on the side. Try to see, is Prabhupada there? No.
So is that why, because you mentioned Guru, maybe that opened the...
I'm thinking maybe. I'm thinking maybe. You know what I mean? I'm not really sure, but that means that, to me, Prabhupada initiated the whole thing. You know what I mean? But, wow.
Yeah, so, and when you were saying about they don't shut up, or they just want you to hear what they have to say. That was when in Atlanta we were actually having an actual ISKCON, which was, we were discussing preaching tactics. And so it came out, how do you know? In the second class devotee is supposed to preach to the innocent and avoid the envious. And so we, really couldn't figure that out. So we wrote a letter to Prabhupada and asked, how do you tell the difference between an innocent person and someone who's a waste of time preaching to, an atheist? And he said, the innocent person will actually listen to you, but the envious, when they're not going to listen. So you see that, if you're talking to, I know specifically in the South, I think in my experiences in Atlanta, you could be, making all the points, hitting all your marks, and they seem to be agreeing, but you just see that glaze in their face, and then it's like, I am the way, the truth, and the light. They're haunted or possessed by it. They won't listen. Or when you're talking to them, as you're talking to them, you see in their face, their mind is already thinking, they're not listening to you, they're planning out what they're going to say. And it's not in response to what you're saying. If there was a discussion, in other words, if I'm talking to you and then you respond back, and I'm talking to you about, you know, the weather today, and then you talk about the weather yesterday. We're having a conversation based on the same. But if I'm talking to you about this, and then you start bringing up, you know, something completely out of left field, or just your own, then it's not a conversation. It's useless. It's a waste of time. I know this. I know that. I already know that.
It's amazing you said that, because as an actor, you said maybe hitting all your marks, and like it's all maybe taped out, you know,
Yeah.
for the camera angles and everything.
Right.
But it still doesn't mean it's going to make the cut. It may not be in the film at all, you know.
You could just stand there. Okay,
I put so much effort into it. They didn't put me in the movie at all. I'm not even in the movie.
Which one?
No, I'm just saying it happens. It happens.
Yeah,
End up on the floor.
Like that.
Well, you know, the grandfather of conversationalism is French. You might have heard about him. The grandfather of conversationalism says that real conversation is when you're not thinking about what you're going to say next, but you're fully absorbed in what the other person's saying,
Right.
and then you respond.
That's the same
The
thing.
French,
Actually,
the
going back
expert
to what you
conversation.
just mentioned about acting, when even though you have memorized lines, okay, but if I have my lines memorized, so I'm not listening to you, what you just said to me, so I just then respond with my lines.
Right.
It's going to be stiff.
The timing may be off.
But
Yeah.
if I'm listening to you and react to, because you may change it up a little.
Yeah.
And also the way you are saying the
I'm
word.
guilty of that.
So you then respond.
Yeah.
It's all about hearing and listening to one another.
Sometimes the director likes that better. That you're reacting, the reaction
Right.
to what happened or what they did. You know, if it's
Rather than
natural,
just-
it looks like
rather than
natural
just-
interaction.
And so Prabhupada's answer that how do you tell who's innocent and who isn't is whether or not they're actually have an open mind, an open heart, that they'll listen. And if not, then just say, yeah, take our card, give some prashadam, whatever, and move on to the next person. Don't waste your time.
Well, no one else. That's it.
Okay.
Agloy says some of the devotees, Agloy Shishi Gornitai, Shishi Radha Radha Gonsha, Gonsha Prabhupada Ki Jai.